to YouTube videos!
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
The Shadow of Lilith. In the quiet suburbs of a mid-sized American city, Elena Vargas ran a popular online feminist book club called Daughters of the First Flame. She had discovered Lilith a few years earlier through a viral TikTok video that portrayed her as the ultimate rebel, Adam's first wife who refused to lie beneath him, demanded equality, and flew away from Eden to forge her own path. The video called Lilith the original feminist icon, a woman demonized by patriarchy for wanting autonomy. Elena shared it with her group, and soon Lilith became their symbol. Posters of a fierce, winged woman adorned their meeting room. They wore necklaces with Lilith's name etched in stylized Hebrew letters. "She is us," Elena often said during their Zoom calls, unbowed, unapologetic. None of them had dug deeper than the inspirational memes and modern retellings. They didn't know the ancient sources. They didn't want to. Group grew. Women from different backgrounds joined, teachers, artists, young mothers disillusioned with traditional roles. They hosted rituals in the woods outside town, burning sage and chanting affirmations of female power. Lilith represented the rejection of subservience, the embrace of sexuality and independence. But as their admiration deepened, some began whispering about true devotion. What if they could connect with her spirit directly? What sacrifices would prove their commitment to the cause? Sarah Klein, a 32-year-old graphic designer and new mother, was the most fervent. Her baby boy, Micah, had been unplanned. Sarah loved him, but motherhood felt like chains after years of fighting for her career. In the group's private chat, she posted, "Lilith refused the role of breeder and servant. Maybe we need to honor that fully if we want real liberation." Elena hesitated at first, but the energy in the group was electric. They researched poorly, online forums that blended New Age spirituality with selective feminist mythology. No one read the alphabet of Ben Sira, the medieval Jewish text that first detailed Lilith's story as Adam's equal creation who demanded to be on top during intimacy, uttered the ineffable name of God to escape, and then became a vengeful demon. No one studied the Talmudic warnings or the incantation bowls from ancient Mesopotamia designed to protect infants from her. They skipped the parts where Lilith was said to roam at night, targeting newborns, especially boys, out of jealousy and rage against humanity's continuation through Eve's line. Instead, they focused on Lilith as victim and victor. Patriarchy turned her into a monster to scare women into submission, Elena declared at their next gathering. "We are reclaiming her truth." The idea of sacrifice started as metaphor. They burned letters listing their resentments toward men and motherhood, but metaphors have a way of demanding more when passion overrides caution. One night, under a full moon, after wine and fervent discussion, Sarah spoke of ultimate release. Lilith was denied children on her terms. To honor her refusal of forced maternity, perhaps we return what patriarchy demands of us. The group fell silent, then murmurs of agreement. No one said the word baby outright at first. It was offering, returning to the source, breaking the cycle. Elena felt a chill but pushed it aside. History, she believed, was written by the winners. They were rewriting it. Weeks passed, planning became serious. They chose an abandoned farmhouse on the edge of the county, owned by a sympathetic member's distant relative. It had a stone basement perfect for sacred space. Sarah volunteered Micah. "He's the product of compromise," she said, tears in her eyes. "Through him, I free myself and all of us." Other women with young children nodded, some with doubt flickering, but the group's solidarity was strong. They had all read the same curated posts. Lilith would reward their courage. On the night of the ritual, the air was thick with incense and expectation. 13 women gathered in a circle around a makeshift altar draped in black cloth. Candles flickered, casting long shadows. Sarah placed Micah in a woven basket at the center, swaddled and sleeping after a carefully measured dose of herbal sedative. The baby's soft breathing was the only sound besides the women's chants. They invoked Lilith with words pieced together from online grimoires and poetry. "First wife, free spirit, she who would not submit, accept our offering and grant us your power." No one had bothered to learn the protective incantations from Jewish folklore. The names of the angels, Sanvi, Sansanvi, and Samangaloth that were said to ward her away. Those were dismissed as patriarchal tools of control anyway. As the chanting rose, something shifted in the room. The temperature dropped. A wind stirred though the doors were closed. Sarah smiled through her tears, interpreting it as confirmation. But this was not the empowering goddess of TikTok. This was the Lilith of history, a figure born from ancient fears of the night, child mortality, and the dangers of unchecked independence twisted into malevolence. In the alphabet of Ben Sira, after leaving Adam, she coupled with demons and vowed to kill infants, 1,000 a day, unless protected by amulets. She was the storm demon, the succubus, the stealer of life from cradles. Medieval Jews hung amulets on cribs and recited prayers specifically against her. She embodied the terror of unexplained infant death in a world without modern medicine. The women did not know this. They had chosen narrative over fact. The first scream came not from Micah, but from the shadows. Elena's eyes widened as a form materialized, tall, winged, with hair like writhing serpents and eyes burning with ancient hatred. It was not beautiful rebellion. It was primal fury. The figure laughed, a sound like shattering glass and howling wind. "You call me sister," the apparition hissed. "You offer what I have always taken, fools who know nothing of my story." Panic erupted. Sarah lunged for her baby, but the shadow moved faster. Claws that weren't quite there yet raked the air. Women scattered, knocking over candles. Flames caught the altar cloth. Smoke filled the basement. Elena stumbled toward the stairs, her mind reeling. How had this gone wrong? They had honored Lilith's independence. They had rejected submission. Why this horror? In the chaos, one woman, Rebecca, a quiet historian who had joined late and mostly listened, grabbed a phone and dialed emergency services. She had tried to warn them earlier, citing sources, but had been shouted down as internalized misogyny. Sirens wailed in the distance as the group fled the burning farmhouse. Sarah clutched Micah, who miraculously remained unharmed, crying now from the noise. The apparition faded with a final, mocking laugh that echoed in their bones. The fire department arrived, police followed, the women were questioned. No one was charged with harm to the child. Micah was safe, but the incident made local news as a bizarre cult ritual gone wrong. Social media exploded. The book club disbanded in shame. Elena sat alone in her apartment days later, scrolling through the historical texts she should have read first. The alphabet of Ben Sira described Lilith's rage at being replaced by Eve, her oath to harm newborns, especially males. Talmudic passages warned of her as a demon of the night. Babylonian roots tied her to Lilitu, wind spirits that plagued pregnant women and infants. Amulets from centuries ago bore inscriptions, "Lilith, begone." Far from a feminist hero in original contexts, she was a cautionary figure about the dangers of rebellion without boundaries, of power untethered from responsibility. Tears streamed down Elena's face. They had projected their desires onto a myth without understanding its warnings. Lilith's story, in its full historical depth, was not about female empowerment triumphing over patriarchy. It was a complex tale reflecting ancient anxieties, the perils of isolation, the sanctity of family, the consequences of rejecting natural order in favor of unchecked will. Modern reinterpretations had stripped away the horror to create an icon, but the original served as a mirror for hubris. Rebecca visited Elena later. "I tried to tell you," she said gently, "history isn't a buffet. You can't cherry-pick the empowering parts and ignore the rest. Lilith wasn't cancelled by men. Her myth evolved to explain real suffering, child death, disease, the unknown. Acting on half-truths leads to disaster." Elena nodded. The group had learned the hard way. Some women left the feminist scene entirely, seeking more grounded paths. Others doubled down, claiming the ritual proved patriarchal interference, but their numbers dwindled. Years passed. Elena wrote a book, not a manifesto, but a cautionary memoir titled Shadows of the First Wife. She detailed the research she ignored, Lilith's appearances in Isaiah as a night creature haunting desolate places, her role in Kabbalistic texts as a counterpart to divine forces, but always dangerous. She quoted scholars who noted how feminist theologians like Judith Plaskow had creatively reimagined Lilith in the 1970s to address contemporary needs, transforming a demon into a symbol of liberation. But Alina warned, reimagination is one thing, pretending the original history doesn't exist is folly. The book sold modestly, mostly to those recovering from similar ideological spirals. Alina spoke at conferences on critical thinking and historical literacy. Know the facts, she urged audiences. Before you invoke a symbol, understand its full weight. Myths endure because they contain truths, beautiful and terrifying. Ignoring the terrifying parts doesn't make them vanish, it invites them in. Sarah raised Micah with newfound appreciation. She told him bedtime stories of strong women from verified history, real suffragettes, scientists, leaders who worked within reality rather than against invented archetypes. She taught him to question narratives, especially those promising power through rejection of the past. The farmhouse ruins became overgrown, a local legend whispered about by teens. Some claimed to hear a woman's laugh on windy nights, but most dismissed it. In the end, the story of Alina's group served as its own cautionary tale. In an age of viral videos and curated truths, the temptation to reshape history to fit ideology is strong, but reality bites back. Lilith, the historical figure, was no ally to those who misunderstood her. She was a reminder that actions based on incomplete knowledge lead to ruin. Women seeking true strength, the tale suggested, would do better to study fully, the good, the bad, the complex. Honor the past by learning it, not erasing or romanticizing its shadows. Only then can one build a future without summoning demons, literal or metaphorical.
That's all, Zipsters! Like and subscribe.